Transmitting from the FTP Broadcasting Studio, Gothenburg, Nebraska. It's the Farmer Tan Boys. You're riding along with the Farmer Tan podcast. Good morning, Americans. It is Saturday.
All right.
Yeah. Yeah, I am Jake in the 308, alongside the co-pilot and the host with the most, Jared Aiden. Jared, how are you feeling on Saturday morning?
Feeling good. I actually in a good mood this morning. So,
Which
rained a little bit overnight. I don't know if that's it or just a general impression waking up, but no, doing good.
Yeah, which is a pleasant departure from your normal demeanor.
It is.
So.
I mean, take it while you can get it. Glad we're recording.
Yeah, we have proof. Yeah, once in late 2024, Jared was in a good mood. No, we kid, because I don't know. You have probably been in a bad mood or maybe had a bad day, but in the amount of time we've been friends, I don't know if I've really encountered it. So
if you're just consistently in a kind of grumpy mood, then no one knows, right?
No, that's probably true. Or maybe you do a good job of just suppressing it and letting it eat away on you until someday you explode.
That's how therapists say it. You just bury it down deep. And you never share it with anybody and just let it fester and just never to bring it up again.
Mm-hmm. Yep, that's right. So we are to the 19th of October already. Yeah. You know, not very long ago, we were talking about pumpkin spice season, and now, man,
we're in it.
Yeah, we are firmly in that.
We're actually in it.
We have had some actual cold days. We got into the 20s for some lows, and so the leaves are kind of changing colors around here. Some of them are dropping actually already. You know, I don't know if things have changed that much, but when I was a kid, it seemed like fall and the leaves and all that business went forever, right? And they gradually turned, and then they were neat colors, and then they fell, and it was just this event that took, you know, this long time. And now anymore, it's like, yeah, it was 90 on Tuesday, it was 20 on Thursday, the leaves turned brown and fell off by Sunday, and that's it.
That's what we were commenting last year. It's the first year the leaves actually changed for probably 2-3 years. I think it was the drought, and we got an early cold snap, but they went from green, and then they just flat froze.
Yep.
You kind of got that dull green, fell off.
And that's it.
There's the beauty of fall. Green trees to bare trees, just like that.
Yep, welcome to bear stick season.
And I mean, it seemed to be used to transition starting to September, and all of October was a transition.
I think so.
Man, that's just September is just summer overtime.
Yeah, summer part 2.
Yeah.
So, yeah. You know, it is, well, we got together, about 7 this morning, I guess.
Due to daylight savings time, right? That's why we're an hour later.
Yeah, something like that.
Just did another daylight savings time.
Yeah, we just saved you an hour. And, you know, actually, the morning podcast thing was not terrible.
No, I think we got done recording and we're like, boy, that was not great. And we listened, we're like, it probably wasn't as bad as we thought.
Yeah, it wasn't as bad as we remembered.
But
so
it did stir up discussion.
It did. We're saltier in the morning, I guess.
We are.
And so some of you like that. So we decided to do another one. Plus, as life goes, everybody's busy. And so this was a good time to do it.
Yep.
You know, we were kind of hoping to be rained out today. It's probably just a late start now.
Yeah, it is. Yep.
So,
but enough to settle the dust, which is going to be a nice change.
Yeah, clean the air up.
Yeah, exactly.
A little bit. What'd you have for rain then?
10 hundredths.
So,
yeah. It's measurable, at least.
Yeah. That's about what we had as well, was 10 hundredths. And Jared and I were talking about this before we came on the air, but we measure in hundredths out here. We're not blessed enough to measure in tenths.
Yeah, we see Tony Reed on social media out in Illinois, and he's like, 4 tenths, maybe 5 tenths. And I'm just talking, well, measure it in hundredths and actually know what it is.
Yeah.
Not a maybe this or that, get it exact.
Yeah, calm down.
Rain is precious.
Yeah, calm down, big boy. The difference in 40 hundredths and
just because we don't bury stuff under the ground to get water out of our field. I mean, man, what a concept that is.
Yeah, tiling it because, not because it washes, but because it's just too wet.
Just need to get rid of some water in the soil.
We just got so much water, we don't know what to do with it.
Oh, man. That's just depressing.
Do you ever think it's because we grow 300 bushel corn out here and they can't?
Well,
we just use up the water?
That maybe they like to use, maybe want to keep water in their field.
Yeah, maybe. I don't know. But yeah, so we did catch a little shower, so that's nice. It'd probably slow everybody up till about noon today, I suppose.
So, freshen up the air at least.
Yep, get that going a little bit. So, if you've been following along a little bit, my oldest son was taking hunter safety he has been middle of the road about his excitement level of hunter safety, but he came bursting in the house Thursday night, super excited because he passed.
Nice.
It was the last day, took the test, passed hunter safety, did well at it. He is now certified in firearm and bow. Both.
Sweet.
So he was super excited about
do they
that.
Get to do a skeet shoot or anything at the end of that?
They do, yeah. They get to kind of have a fun day deal on that, and so he was just super excited that he passed. I don't know if the excitement was the excitement because he accomplished his goal, or if it was excitement because he was relieved it was over. But at any rate, it was something out of his comfort zone, and he applied himself and he did well. And I was just really proud of him. So I told him, let's go hunting to celebrate. And he said, no, thanks. so I guess we're probably not turkey hunting. He and I are not turkey hunting this fall. I got another son that he reminds me every day that we're in the throes of turkey season and we have not been out yet.
Yeah.
Which I don't know. We seem to know somebody, I think, that is involved in wildlife conservation, and I need to have a chat with him. We've straightened out Runza, we've straightened out the UP. It's time to straighten out Game and Parks. But I think around in Nebraska for fall turkey season this year, you can get one permit per hunter.
Oh,
and you can get one turkey per permit. And I need to have a chat with that fellow that we know and explain to him, because I know he's got pull all the way up the ladder.
Oh yeah, absolutely.
And I need to visit with him and like, dude, there's enough turkeys we could all get to and still be fine. And so, but anyway, so the other boy and I'll probably go turkey hunting here sometime yet this fall, but it goes till the end of November. He's in it too. Okay. I'm like, dude, we've got
some done.
We've got 45 days almost to go get one turkey. I think
just wait till we get a distiller's pile on the ground. It'll get a lot easier.
Yes. We'll sit in the shop and just crack the door or whatever. But anyway, so we're excited about that. Yeah, I don't know what's going on in your world.
Well, we started harvesting Milo, and I'll be honest, I was a little apprehensive about it. You hear both ends of the spectrum, but what I've got to find out is not nearly as daunting as I thought. I mean, everybody complained about the dust. I have pretty bad allergies. I was pretty worried about it. Wheat really bothers me. Soybeans kind of bother me decent. Corn is probably the least. And so just hearing how bad Milo dust was, I was worried about that, plus the itchiness factor everybody talks about. But that hasn't bothered me. And then everybody talked about how it wants to go down and wants to lay flat. We haven't had that issue. I think kind of timely harvest is the biggest key to that. So after we got done with beans, we did some corn, and then the chances of frost, we thought, well, we might as well go after the Milo. It's been staying green, but if it's going to frost off and die, it's probably going to go down, so we should go out there and get it. And
right.
It's been going well. Been pretty happy with it so far. So then the other thing, I don't know if you know this, but the end is near. This doesn't apply to about anybody else, but everybody should know, but we're baby's coming in a week, so
yeah. So you need to get some harvest out of the way.
Yeah, we're kind of trying to push and get it done.
Well, you are.
No pun intended.
Yeah, I was gonna say you are. She's not. Calm down, Molly. You got a week. You got to wait.
So yeah, we're kind of balancing.
Get back in that grain cart.
So keeping the phone close, making sure we have a pickup out in the field, but that'll kind of be the next thing, and then probably got some background calves coming about the same time, because you know what they say, if you have one crying baby, you might as well have 200. So
I think, is that what they say?
Isn't it?
It sounds like something they would say.
So.
Who is they, by the way? They always say a bunch of stuff, but I don't know who they is.
It's just all the wisdom that doesn't have any names attached to it. So
it's probably safer that way. You did get some backgrounders found though.
Yep, they're going to be coming in a week and get started on that. So I was getting a little nervous getting this late in the year, but I think calves are starting to move.
Yeah,
starting to happen more, and
I think so.
Got some coming, so I'm excited for that.
Is that gonna do you, or you're still needing?
I think we'd get a few more, but it sounds like the same person's going to send enough to fill me. So
good.
Yeah.
Yeah, I was getting nervous too because I was planning on selling you a bunch of hay. Like, well, I hope he finds some calves so I can move this hay.
Might just have some more show up out of nowhere. Just
yeah, right. I know the guy that hauled it. I'll just call him and tell him take it to the same place.
Oh man.
Yeah, that's funny. Well, good. I'm glad. Yeah, like you said, it just Aaron and I were actually talking about that a little bit, like. And I'll say this carefully because I don't mean it that way, but like, boy, you picked almost the perfect wrong year to make that the first year. Just
I know.
Just calf prices the way they are.
Election year.
All that, yeah.
And I just, when I thought first crept in my head, I'm like, that's exactly how I would do it. I mean, it seems like a lot of the things I tie them up are just wrong. I'll give you an example. Kind of started in on LRP a couple years ago. So last year, I was kind of on the fence about backgrounding my own calves or selling them off the cow, and calf prices were pretty good. So I had an LRP. When it expired, calf prices were good, so that didn't pay out. And I decided to keep the calves for backgrounding. And after the LRP expired, then the price went down.
Sure.
And then it kind of went up again, and I did not put another LRP on them, and then it went back down. So I played that about just as wrong as anybody can play it.
Right.
And I think I broke even on it. So at least I didn't lose money, but at the same time, like, man, that could have been managed so much better.
Yeah. And,
I just timed it all perfectly. Oh.
Yeah, I know it. Yeah, we do an LRP as well. And I know people are like, well, just go out on the board and do it on the board.
I should explain what LRP is.
Yeah, do all that, which, well, yeah, you can tell them what LRP is.
It stands for Livestock Risk Protection. It's a form of insurance. It's kind of in the same vein as crop insurance. But basically, the price gets a certain level. You pick a certain month that you kind of anticipate your calves being sold. And you can buy a policy to kind of set the floor on the price of those calves at a certain weight. So say, I think I'm going to have 500 pounders ready October, so I can pay to have a policy to set that floor for October at 500 pounds of calf. And the further out you are, the more expensive the premium is. So it's just a way to kind of protect a set a price floor. And then that way, you're guaranteed that amount of income. So when you get out to October, doesn't really matter when you sell your calves. It just has to be within 2 months. But when you hit that date in October, it expires. You look at the board price. If it is below the price you bought the policy for, you get a payout. If it's above, you don't.
And so are they still using, do they do board price, or is it a 5? Because I thought for a while it was a 5-state like sale average.
Oh, maybe it is.
Show list average.
I'm not sure.
I
have our guest on to explain that.
Yeah, we'll have Garth on. Right now he is screaming at the radio like, you guys, no, that's not. But actually, I do think it is. I think it is a weekly average from the week your policy expired over like 4 or 5 state, like a sale average. Because I think it is actually, it is more, what do you want to say? It is less speculatory as far as following the futures, and it is more what is actually happening.
I like that. We have a cash market out here, so
we do an LRP as well. People say, "Oh, how comes you don't go out on the board and do it?" Or whatever. Well, part of it was for a long time we didn't have enough calves, and so you could do like however many contracts, but it wasn't necessarily 50,000 pounds of beef or whatever, right? But
it takes a decent jag to fill a contract,
and we didn't have enough calves to fill that. Not that it mattered, because we were never going to let it expire and actually ship them that way. But suddenly you were making a calf like pull double duty on your position on the board, and we didn't like that necessarily. Now that is not as much of a problem. But the other thing I like about LRP is you sign up now. When it expires, if they owe you money, they take your premium out of that and then pay you. So that way we're not paying margin calls as we go throughout the year. And I like that. And I understand there are situations where it probably would be better to be on the board. And, maybe at some point we'll do that as well. But I like not having the margin calls right now.
Yep.
And
the higher interest and stuff. Yeah.
Yeah. So, but anyway, that seems to work pretty well. And but I'm glad you got filled up.
Yeah. No, I'm excited.
Where you want to be on that.
Yeah. I guess another current news, something I was going to touch on is, I know last Sunday you filled in at the Cowboy Church here. We both go to Lone Star, and you filled in for Pastor Greg, and I have in the past. So I was just going to kind of ask you, when you fill in, given a sermon on a Sunday, I guess from where you started to where you are now, what is kind of the thought process that you kind of take the week leading up?
Yeah. Yeah. So like Jared said, so we're both believers, both Christians, and one of the gifts that I have been given, I guess, is the ability to be, public speaker a little bit. Now, maybe that's my own opinion, and I should ask other people because maybe I'm the only one that thinks that. But it was important to me to try to find a way to use that for good, right? Or use it for the kingdom. And I think when God gives you a gift, like, you can use it multiple ways. And so, I can be entertaining if I want to be, I can be informative or do whatever. And I think all those things are all well and good, but I sort of just felt like I was being called to, like, hey, like, you can use this a little more directly for the kingdom. And so that's kind of how I got started, I guess, was wanting to do that. So anyway, last week was a bad example because it was pretty short notice.
Sure.
Greg had some stuff come up and he's like, hey, is there any way you can fill in? Like, I am sorry, it's short notice. And I said, sure, absolutely. And so it maybe didn't follow the normal routine of how things look, right?
Mm-hmm.
But if Greg was to say, hey, coming up in 2 weeks, would you be able to do that? What that would, like, for me, how I would probably do that, I figure that I am not the only one going through whatever it is that I'm going through. And so I try to pick out what is my last week, 10 days, month looked like. And I try to find something that I've been struggling with. And so that may be just a case of the grouchies. It may be with pronunciation, whatever.
You talk about Moses and how he said, I'm not fit to speak.
I am not fit to speak. Yeah. Yeah, that's exactly right. So, but it may be, either feeling down, or it may be, you take your pick, right? Like, I mean, I've touched on financial struggles or just all sorts of things. And it's not always bad things either. Sometimes I pick, like, what's been going really well and then try to build something around that, praises and thankfulness and some of that, right? But anyway, I figure for one, I can probably relate to people my own story better than I can just sit down and write something not related to me. So I try to make it about me. I usually figure that everybody else, to some degree, is either going through it or has went through it at some point. So that makes it relatable. And so then after I kind of decide the topic, then I actually go looking for scripture to help with that.
Mm-hmm.
And so I think about it. I'll be honest, a lot of times I don't write it much in advance, but I'll be thinking on it and ruminating on it. And I try to think of stories that go along with it that can be relatable. And then, like, oh man, there was something in John that kind of sounded like that. And so then I'll start trying to look back and find, so that's kind of how I do it, I guess. And I don't know if it's right, wrong, or otherwise, but.
No, I think you do a good job. I feel not nearly as much as you. I have filled in a few times. And I think at first I thought, man, I need to get up there. I need to teach something to people. And you gotta when you have that mindset, you go up there and you look out and you see, man, people have had such an impact on your faith journey. Like my granddad and grandma, my parents, friends and family. And just, what am I going to teach them? I mean, these are the people that taught me everything. And you kind of find yourself, I don't know, fumbling over. It's hard to make a sermon flow when you're just trying to really dig deep and find a little nugget. And I just kind of, it's the same thing. I got to the point you got with is, well, what has God been working on me recently? Is a chunk of scripture I read that I just kind of keeps coming up in my mind is that, I don't know about you, but my internal dialogue sometimes preaches a sermon to me over and over while you're driving in a truck or pickup or something.
Yeah.
So I just got to do that. And like you said, there's usually a scripture that goes along with it. And that's a key to anything, is make sure it's rooted in scripture. And it's coming from that. It's not just storytelling about your day and how you handled it. It's storytelling and how God would want you to handle it, because it's not like we get it right all the time. But unlike you, and I think every Christian at some point is like, should I be going into ministry, when they kind of take their faith seriously?
Yeah.
I think for some reason we all think that that's the pinnacle of Christianity, and it's not. We all have different gifts. Yeah. Not saying it's not important, but we're all parts of one body.
Sure.
And so preaching and teaching is just one of it. I guess every time I get up and fill in, I'm glad to do it. I'm glad to help out, but I do not feel called to be up there. So usually when I'm kind of at a point I was getting asked to do it more often. And I said, I don't think I'm being called. If there's someone else that is kind of feeling the call to do some ministry, whether fill-in or full-time, I would rather you ask them and let them use their gifts. I'd be glad to do it if they can't, but I'm just not really feeling called, and I still don't feel that way, but glad to fill in and help. And we all have something to offer. I think everybody can get up there and give a sermon. I know some people think it's just daunting, but everybody has an experience and a God moment to share. We can all learn something from each other. But some of us have just gotten the opportunity to do it, and some people are never comfortable enough to do it. And it's not a real comfortable thing for me to do. But like I said, glad to do it, and when I need to jump in, but not feeling called to do it full time.
Yeah. And I don't know. So I look at all the stuff that Pastor Greg does, and really we should have him on here someday.
Yeah.
But I look at all the stuff that he does, and I don't think I would do real well at some of all the other stuff.
Exactly.
That he does such a phenomenal job at that. And I think that is one of those, like, if you were not called to do it, that's going to show.
Not be.
Yeah. And so there's no question, like his love for people is just, it is almost unreal how much he cares.
Yeah.
And so
people aren't a part of the church because he does a phenomenal job giving sermons, although he does a good job at that. It's the other times of the week he is they're ministering to people.
Yep.
I don't think people understand how tough other people have it or situations other people are going through, because everybody you can show up as a family on a Sunday for an hour and look like a Norman Rockwell painting for an hour, right?
Yeah.
People are going through things, and that's where you need a minister to walk by them. a pastor to a shepherd of people. So just because everybody's in church doesn't mean they're not going through some things or don't struggle the other 6 days of the week.
Yeah. Something that, and this is not really what you asked, but I guess we're talking about it. So, so I grew up in a Christian home, going to church, just very regularly for a long time growing up. This is not a poke at anyone or anything, but as a kid, I struggled anyway to connect with a lot of the pastors that we had as I was growing up, because they were just these old dudes that talked a long time on Sunday morning. That's how I viewed them. And that's not necessarily fair, but that is how I viewed them. I remember hearing a pastor, and I think it was actually like a fill-in lay speaker type of person one time, that the way he told a story about his week or month, the way he related that back to scripture, to your point, the way he shared how he handled it, and then like, whoop, that wasn't actually how I should handle it, because here's what the Bible teaches us. Like, all of a sudden, like, boy, that had my attention. And so as time went on, so to be honest with you, as time went on, I sort of drifted away. Got to college, and it was not really a priority. I had some friends that were like, hey, you should come to church with us. And I was like, okay. And so I went to a church with them. And it was the most hand clappingest, foot stompingest, like arms above the waist, wavingest, contemporary music. And that is all great. At that point in life, I'm like, ooh, this is too much.
Yeah.
Like this, I don't know if I can handle this. I grew up Presbyterian, we were pretty, I guess I'll say old school, right? And that was too far out there for me. It is interesting now, because that's actually what I needed. That is sort of what I still like. The old hymns, I still sort of like a traditional church service, but it's that energy and that engagement. Like, I didn't know at that point in time I needed it, but that is what I need. Anyway, so I wasn't, I wasn't doing the things I should have been doing. I was not terribly connected. This is going to sound really funny, but I was not really reading much for scripture, because like, I didn't know that's what I was supposed to be doing. I really sort of had this mentality that church was that hour a week, and got that done, should be good the rest of the week. I'm not saying I was going out living like a heathen. That's not what I mean. I mean, like everybody, I've done some things that in the past that I regret, but I mean, I wasn't being a terrible person, but that's not what it's about.
Exactly. Yeah.
And so anyway, as time went on, I ended up so disconnected that I truly believe there's a difference between being a believer and being a follower.
Right.
Because even the devil believes God exists.
Exactly. Yeah, that's right.
And the point in life where I was a believer, but I was not a follower. So, okay, flash forward, met this wonderful woman in college. For whatever reason, we've covered it in past podcasts. She decided I was good enough that she was going to take a chance. You know, people can laugh and joke about their in-laws all they want, you know, mother-in-law jokes or father-in-law jokes or whatever and all that kind of stuff. I was so very fortunate in the in-law department. You know, I grew up southeast Nebraska, moved 3 hours away from home. You know, obviously didn't know a whole lot of people out here to begin with. Little backstory, but when we were first getting married, I moved out here in November and we were getting married in April. And we had a house all lined up. We were going to start renting. You know, it was supposed to be available about a couple weeks, maybe a month after I moved out here. I was going to move into that house. We were going to start getting it ready to go, working on it, making it our own. Erin was going to keep living at home. And then when we got married, then she could come move in and, you know, we'd be ready to go. So mother-in-law and father-in-law were like, you don't need to be getting a place for like a month before you can move into your house. Just, you can live in the basement for a little bit till your house is ready to move into, and that'll be good. Oh, sure, that's great. I think those people finally got out of our house, or the one that we were going to move into, like about 2 weeks before our wedding.
Oh, no kidding.
Yeah.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, like it wasn't quite one of those like you're either coming out or we're dragging you out, but like they were supposed to be out like months before, and it didn't happen. So I got to spend the rest of that fall, all winter, early spring living with my in-laws. And, you know, my father-in-law, he's passed on now, but just a fantastic godly man. And he was, you know, he was the role model that I needed at that time for sure. My mother-in-law, fantastic Christian woman, strong believer. I needed that at that point in life. I was trying to be a good person, but you can try to be a good person all you want on your own. And that, by worldly standards, might make you okay, but that doesn't really do it in the, you know, when you're starting to talk about eternity and salvation and that sort of thing. And so we started going to church with them. Well, I mean, Erin had always went to church with them. I started going with them, you know, and about time. And because it was not a question. Yeah. And I will, if I'm going to be 100% honest here, and I will be with you, I started going to church with them because I did not want to disappoint her dad. Mm-hmm. And it's funny how that went from like being an obligation to being something that I wanted to do. Mm-hmm. And, you know, I was older. I was in a different phase of life. I was starting to pay a little more attention, you know, starting to hear some things that like, oh, that does kind of make sense. That does sort of resonate. Anyway, over the course of that time, like I really became a solid like believer for sure, but also like trying very hard to be a follower. And man, I wouldn't even say I'm a very good Christian now. Like, you're right, because we all struggle.
Yeah.
And I still mess up and I still make mistakes. I am still sinful. I don't want to be. I try hard not to be, but we're living in a fallen world, and that sounds like a free pass to go do whatever you want. And that is not how I mean that. But what I'm saying is we just, sin is in the world.
Yeah.
The devil is allowed to go to and fro in the world, which is why we need Christ. Exactly. That is why we need.
And I think a lot of people's reaction to that is kind of, they want to go to a turtle shell and, you know, just block themselves out from the world, protect their family from the world. I don't think that's kind of the right. How are you going to be a light to the world if you're hiding from the world? I know that's the phrase, you know, you need to be, let's see, what is it? Be a part of the world, but not be from the world or of the world. So,
yeah. Be in the world, but not of the world.
There we go.
Yep.
Yeah, man, brain's a little slow, but that's exactly right. So yeah, you still gotta, if you're going to be disciples of people, bring people to Christ, you still got to be out in society and making a difference out there. So.
Yep. Yep, I agree with that, and so I guess to bring that full circle, and definitely went through some real spiritual growth, and some of it was really hard, and but here we are, and I am not an expert, by any means. Like I said, I am not perfect. It is not easy. I'm really trying, but by the grace of God, I have the opportunity to try. And because I've put my trust and faith in his son, Jesus Christ, as my Lord and Savior, I am saved and I have that opportunity. And I have some experiences that I think I can relate to other people with. And I can let them know that, like, they are not alone. They are not the first person to go through this. If they need somebody that understands, like, I can be that person. And so my whole goal, I guess, or not really goal, but my motivation is I want to be able to deliver a message that has your attention, that you can say, I can relate to this guy. I have struggled with that too. I am struggling with that. Or I see what you're saying. Not so that they relate to me, but so they feel like they're not the only ones. Oh man, like I thought I was the only one that got down about that, even though you're not. But to hear somebody else say it, and keep them engaged enough that maybe they go ask questions, and they don't have to ask me questions. Like if that takes them to Pastor Greg or somebody in their Bible study or a coworker, because I honestly think like there's a lot of people sitting in church that were like I was. Like you're there because you're supposed to be,
right?
So hopefully that just makes them reach out to anybody within their circle who can just feed it a little more, right? Yep. And so that's why I do it. I don't know.
No, like I said, that's well put.
I guess I got kind of carried away, but
no. But no, I know you had other things that popped in your mind during the week. So,
well,
what else?
Yeah, I have. But one other. On this, while we're still on this topic, one other thing that is just hitting me at the moment, and I think about it a lot, right? But I want this to be a word of encouragement for everybody, because this is what I want you to hear. Occasionally we get this like, but God, I'm following you. I'm believing in your son. I'm in your word, and life is still hard. The thing of it is it says in Scripture that
there will be trouble.
There will be trouble.
Yeah.
You're not guaranteed an easy day just because you're a believer. In fact, it says it may actually be harder because you're a believer. The thing of it is, and you look all around and you think, oh man, like, this guy, that guy, this family, that family, whatever. For one, we are not called to worry about others in that sense. We are to concern ourselves with others, but not to compare ourselves.
Yep.
That's an earthly thing. That's a man-made thing. And so don't worry about the blessings that somebody else may be getting and whether you perceive they deserve them or not, because that's really dangerous. Just keep in mind that whatever we are going through here in this time, like God, when his son died on the cross, he reconciled all of that. Now, you may not get to see that reconciliation until eternity. In fact, oftentimes, it is whether or not you think it is visible here on earth, it will be infinitely times more apparent in eternity. But so I guess what I'm saying is if things are not going your way, that's not anything more than life happening.
I piggyback on that thought, how you started out. I know a lot of people are familiar with the Scripture, it says, take up your cross and follow me, but they forget one small word in the middle of that. It says, take up your cross daily and follow me. So, and that, you got to picture that when you're a Christian, just that mental image of getting up every day, picking up that cross.
Yeah.
I mean, that's a daily task. It's not something you just you do for an hour on Sunday and you just lay it down the rest of the week. You got to pick it up daily. But it also says, my yoke is easy, my burden is light. So whatever burden you're carrying, I guarantee you was not as heavy as the one Jesus carried for all of us.
Yep.
It's a small burden that we have to carry. Not saying we don't have burdens. I know it's the Midwest way to I know Pastor Greg says, ask somebody 3 times to see how they're really doing, because no one wants to burden anybody with their problems. Someone else has it worse than me.
Yes.
Someone else probably does. That does not mean you don't have a burden. So don't shrug that off. Don't pretend like it's nothing. You got to deal with it at the value that it is, but just understand that every day we got to take up that cross, and we got to bear, that burden and push for it. It's work. So it's not a part-time job.
Yeah.
And everybody can be a pastor. I think that's kind of the other thing. It's not the pastor's job to save everybody. It's kind of everybody's job. It's just pastor's job to lead.
Yeah. Yeah, I think that is a good point. And, wherever you are in your walk, there's people you can reach out to.
Exactly.
If you need help, and there's people you can reach out for if they need help. And it's a team sport.
Yeah.
No man is an island.
And I know Greg, I don't want to steal his stories before he comes on.
Maybe one or two.
One or two, he's got a lot. So
he can tell it. He can tell his own Hereford stories.
There. But he said this before when he's thinking about being a pastor, and he's being called to start Cowboy Church. He ranched with his father-in-law quite a bit before that. He told his father-in-law, he's like, hey, I think I'm called to ministry. I'm going to become a pastor. And his father-in-law, who's a godly man, grew up in church with him. He said, are you sure? Because you will be able to reach more people as a rancher than you will as a pastor. And he said, that didn't make sense to him at the time, but he's like, I see it now. There's conversations you all can have with people that I can't. He said, when I show up in a room, the conversation shuts down a lot of times because I carry that title of pastor. So he's counting on us to kind of be an extension of that message and reaching some people that he can't. And I think a lot of people think that means I need to sit somebody down across the table
and straighten them out.
And you just, drop the Bible on the table with a loud thud and start going through it. No, it's just plant a seed. It's just a little nugget here and there.
Sure.
And you might not be the one that gets to harvest that. So I think a lot of people get frustrated. It's like, man, I've been working on so-and-so a little bit, and we're just not making any progress. It may take years, and someone else may water that. Somebody else may get to harvest it. But don't let that discourage you from just planting that seed and in your own way. Don't be outside yourself. God doesn't call you to do things outside yourself.
Right. And, on that, it is tough, and I struggle with this myself. Oh, God's telling me that I need to go be a, missionary in Cambodia.
Mm-hmm.
Well, but he's not.
Yeah.
Or I don't think he is.
Yeah, most likely not. Or we'd all be in Cambodia.
Right. And not for me personally. So how do you decipher what you are being called to do? And so to me, it is one of those, and this is not me being preachy because I struggle at this mightily some days. And so this is me just sharing. Sometimes I struggle discerning what God is telling me. Like I feel like he is telling me something, but I'm trying to sort out what it is he's trying to tell me. And then I have this thought like, well, have you been in prayer about it? Well, if the answer to that is sort of, then maybe we need to up being prayerful about it. If you can honestly say, yes, I have been praying hard about this, okay, then he may be telling you to wait. Like, just hold on, holding pattern, but also like, have you been in the Word? Have you read some scripture? If your answer to that is no, like, well, that is his Word. And so while it is good to be still and listen, it's also good to go through his Word and see if there's something that jumps out to you. If you can honestly say, I've been in the Word, I've been praying, I've talked to, godly people around me about it, I don't understand what he's saying. It's very possible he's saying just, hey, hold on then. Because like to your point, don't get outside of where you're supposed to be. Maybe you are supposed to be, the best employee at wherever it is you're working, and you have that time over lunch or over break, or there may be one person. Because I think, especially as farmers, right, we think in bushels, we think in head numbers, we think in acres, we think, well, if it can't save 100 people, I just ain't even
It's not economical.
Right, not economical. But in reality, like, there's more rejoicing in heaven for that one sinner who returned home than the 99 that were already there. Now, that may sound confusing if you're not to that point in your walk yet. So research that if you're not.
Yeah.
the point being, there may be one person at the bank where you work that you are supposed to be coming alongside.
And they may be hired 10 years from now.
They may be. Yeah, you don't know where they're at right now.
You
and
might
so
not even know them yet.
Yeah, exactly. So don't get hung up on trying to bring, a crowd of folks with you. Focus on the one.
Mm-hmm.
And when you get there, if there's 1,000 people coming with you, well, then praise Jesus for that for sure. Focus on the one.
Because you might be the only person that can reach that one.
Very possible. Bring that one. When you get that one, bring another one. But it's not like Jared said before, it is God's word will not return void.
Mm-hmm.
But it is not, we are not the ones called to drag somebody kicking and screaming to salvation.
Right.
We are called to be messengers.
Mm-hmm.
That is our job. We spread the word. We come alongside. We encourage. There's a lot that goes into that.
Yeah.
It's not just like, hey, you need Jesus. You need Jesus. You need Jesus. Are you following Jesus?
Holding the sign on the street corner.
Yeah. I mean, there's something to that.
Yeah.
But you're not in a spray plane just flying, 100 feet off the ground, wide open, just sending it out there. It takes a little work. You got to do a little follow up. But at the end of the day, do not be discouraged because God will take care of that.
Right.
You do what you're called to do. Let him do the rest.
And I know we can go on this for hours, but just thoughts keep popping in. I've always heard the phrase, the harvest is plentiful, the workers are few. And I always took that to mean that there needs to be more workers. And there probably does.
Right.
By I heard a commentary, I think it's from David Jeremiah, that I never thought about is this: God has the harvest ready to go. All we have to do is go out there and harvest. Like, there's people, I think, out there prepared to hear that message. They just need somebody to come along and walk with them. I mean, they're ripe for picking.
Mm-hmm.
And so not everything is you're starting from ground zero and building up. Sometimes God's been working on that person.
Oh, yeah.
He just needs you to go walk alongside him and walk him across the finish line. So I never thought of that phrase meaning that, but that makes a lot of sense.
Yeah.
A few workers can reap a lot of harvest.
Sure. And don't discount your abilities and your experiences.
Exactly. Yeah.
Because people that Jared can reach might be different than me, and different than Pastor Greg, and different than Jared's wife. And, there's different personalities, there's different life experiences, there's different just geographic locations. Like, we don't all have the ability to reach people the same, but don't discount, you didn't have to start an orphanage.
Mm-hmm.
You don't have to plant a church. You don't have to do any of this stuff before you have done enough to start bringing people. Like, just be a believer yourself.
Mm-hmm.
But also, it takes a little effort.
Yeah.
And just don't be afraid to extend that effort and be a little bit vulnerable. Not in a bad way, right? Like you have to, make sure you protect yourself, but you need to open up to somebody and be real if you expect them to be real back. And so
live in such a way, it's going to draw some people to want to investigate further and just be willing to let them see what they want to find.
Yeah, I think so. And so, we're getting closer. We gotta get through earthly harvest season
right.
for things to calm down. But we're getting closer to having guests on here. And I think we will. I think we will have Pastor Greg on here at some point, maybe at multiple points.
That's right.
If he's got time and he wants to. Yeah, he may not want to. He may get enough of Jared and I, during the week that he does not want to see us again.
twice a week is plenty, guys. I mean,
I'm already seeing you twice a week.
These are the sheep that won't leave the feed button.
Yeah, right. Like
it's the sheep that follow you out the gate.
Right. There is a
headbutt you on the way out.
there, I saw a video go by, like maybe last week sometime, and it makes me think now of us, and because we're on a group chat with yourself and me and Pastor Greg and a couple other of the guys at church, and it's good. It is a good thing, absolutely. But I saw this video go by here a while ago, and it's this sheepdog. And he's out in this pasture, and there's a flock of sheep out there. And he's doing his job. Like, he's sitting there guarding doing what he's supposed to do. And then the caption on this video is like that one coworker that just won't, I can't remember what it said, either won't leave you alone or won't observe your personal space or whatever it is. This dog is sitting there, and all of a sudden here's this sheep, and I mean, it's rubbing on this dog, and it's loving on this dog, and it's, I mean, it's sitting right next to it, and then it's rubbing up and, next to him. And I mean, this dog is like trying to be serious and trying to do his job. And you can tell he's just like, leave me alone, I don't know if that's how Pastor Greg feels. Like, I'm not trying to put words or ideas or thoughts or whatever. He's like, boy, I wish these guys like,
oh, you never know. You never know. You wouldn't let it show.
No, he wouldn't, which is why I'm concerned. Maybe no, he is not that way. He absolutely has a love for everybody and time for everybody. And I think he genuinely enjoys us at least twice a week.
Small doses.
Yeah, small doses. We're best taking.
We're an acquired taste.
We are. Yeah. Yeah. It's like you don't take the whole bottle of Tylenol at once. You take a pill at a time, as that's kind of how we are. But anyway, on a very serious note, before we move on here, if you are at a point in life where I don't know what you're going through, or if you need encouragement, need answers, need help, if it's looking dark, I don't know. But whatever is going on, like, please reach out to somebody.
I mean, we'd love to.
Yep.
You and I mean.
Yep, absolutely.
If you want to talk to us, we'd love to.
Yep, absolutely. So you can, as with anything on the podcast, but feel free, you can send us an email. The is important. Mm-hmm. If you're reading this in King James, it is the Farmer Tan podcast at gmail.com. If you know us personally, obviously you can reach out through personal channels.
Yeah, if we're not going to be like, don't have time, just email.
Yeah.
I mean, come up to us in person.
Yeah, if you know us in person, please reach out in person.
Absolutely.
But if you don't, but you still think like, well, maybe I could talk to these guys, send us an email. We will get in touch with you via, phone or some sort of more personal than email, but feel free to reach out that way for sure. If it goes beyond what we are able to do, which is quite possible, we'll put you in contact with Pastor Greg or whatever we need to do. But just please don't fight it alone. Right. There's people on your team, and we are certainly here for you. So,
absolutely. With
that said, BSB for the week.
Oh, okay.
My brother, who is a listener to the podcast, and I'm going to put this out on air because I think it is that important, and it sort of ties in a little bit to what we were just talking about. We are not perfect. Sometimes we make mistakes. He sent me a text on Thursday night or early Friday morning about something that he was concerned about, not spiritual nature, just worldly stuff. And I sort of fired back at him in a way that maybe I wished I hadn't. And I feel bad about that. And I apologize to him, but I'm going to say it on here too. Like, Dustin, I'm sorry. I did not handle that. And I was not upset with you. And I explained that to him. I said, I am sorry. I am in a bad mood that morning. And he was just on the off chance that maybe those people listen to the podcast as well. I won't say what it's about. It was nothing. Now that it's all over with, it was certainly nothing. He was just voicing some concerns about the ag industry and somebody in it. And I kind of shot back with a pretty snarky comment, and it was certainly not filled with love. And I felt bad later. Actually, I felt bad pretty quickly. So I checked to see if I could unsend that text, but apparently he had already read it and I couldn't unsend it. Anyway, Dustin, if you're listening, I am sorry. I felt bad about that, just so you know. And he really is probably one of my best friends. And I felt pretty bad. You were one of my best friends as well, but him being my actual brother, I felt more inclined to let it fly with him than I probably would have with you. And so anyway, so unless I have irritated him so bad that he no longer listens to the podcast, I think he's probably still listening. And so he sent this one in. BSB, buy, hang on.
Buy, sell, burn it to the ground.
There we go. See, even I need help. And with it being harvest themed for the week or for the month or for the season, he sent in grain dust, right?
Ooh.
And so our choices this week are oat dust,
okay,
Milo dust, and soybean dust.
Ooh. I don't want to buy any of them.
Yeah. Yeah.
Man. Yeah, I was going to say, I know your wife, Erin, and I both have allergies.
Yeah.
So I think I'm more inclined from that aspect of things. And granted, I do my best to stay out of all of them. I appreciate all the people around me who are willing to blow off the combine and do some of that stuff. There's a day coming. I'm going to have to get in there more. I've done it, but it's not my daily chore. I try to do some other things. But that being said, I have never taken oats to grain, so I don't fully understand what that is. I am going to have to. So that being said, I'll probably have to, I don't know. I think oats are the same as wheat. So far, I'm going to have to buy Milo dust, surprisingly. Probably sell soybeans and burn oats to the ground because I think oats, I remember now going by that oat stubble has that same kind of smell of wheat. Instant asthma for me.
Oh, yeah.
I just think oats might have that same thing. I've done oat hay and that kind of got to me, but I'm sure oat grain is even higher up there. So,
yeah.
Boy, that's a tough one.
So this is like a true health concern for you. It's not just uncomfortable.
No, it's not. I mean, it's just like,
oh, Jared died.
This is, am I going to be stuffed up for hours or am I going to be having a hard time breathing and need to find an inhaler or nebulizer?
Yeah. Okay.
So wisely, I went into a profession with hay and grain dust.
Yeah. As one would.
As one would.
Yeah, absolutely. Okay. So I was thinking about this as well. Historically speaking, dust does not bother me super bad. Like I do not enjoy it, but
not like you're hanging out in it.
No, I try not to. But as you alluded to, it absolutely shuts my wife down. You know, when you get to that point late summer when all the different weeds are pollinating, it is a struggle for her.
Boy, late August is tough.
Yeah. I am not that bad. It makes me just, you know, I might need to blow my nose a little bit, take a shower in the evening, you know, that sort of thing, but it's really not bad. So anyway, with that in mind, everybody wants to complain about Milo and that, oh man, that's pretty itchy, you know, and I'm like, right, because you were harvesting it on an international 915 combine before they put cabs on.
Right.
Like things have changed. But even at that, like, you know, I've worked on Milo combine, been inside of them, and, you know, it is what it is. I'm going to buy Milo dust. I'm going to sell soybean dust. I'm putting Milo slightly better than soybeans only because in my experience, there is 100 times more soybean dust.
It is so fine. It gets everywhere.
And to me, Milo dust is just dust. Mm-hmm. Soybean dust has like a smell to it that I don't enjoy.
Yeah.
Not that I'm sniffing Milo dust on purpose either. But so I'm doing that.
Rolling up those bills and just sniffing.
Yeah. But I am absolutely 100% burning oat dust to the ground.
Not bad, huh?
Which you got to be careful of because grain dust is explosive. So if you're going to burn it to the ground,
well-ventilated area.
Yeah, burn it outside in a well-ventilated area. And don't burn it now, for crying out loud.
Golly.
I mean, we had a little shower, but not, you know, there's been enough guys.
It's not open season.
Yeah, burning stuff down.
Boy,
so
scary stuff.
Buoy, be careful, right? But oat dust is so bad for me that even filling the drill with seed oats gets me.
I do. Yeah. Now you say that, I have experienced that.
And it does.
I will definitely burn that to the ground.
Yeah. And it does not really plug me up, like, so I can't breathe.
It tightens me up.
But it, like, my neck and just burns. Like anywhere, like if it gets around the collar of your shirt, I mean, just absolutely burns. And so being in the feed business, like anytime we're dealing with like bulk oats, I absolutely, like, I will position myself to be upwind from that at all costs because it is just the most miserable thing. Like I said, typically, you know, allergens don't bother me terribly bad. I'm actually getting better the older I get.
No kidding.
Yeah.
It seems backwards.
It does.
People.
It does. Or maybe all the plants that I'm allergic to finally died. I don't know. But oats are one of those. And Aaron and I used to grow oats a little bit for grain, and that was miserable.
I bet. That's what I've heard. I've never, like I said, never harvested them for grain. I'm glad I haven't now.
Yeah. You know what is weird is, so And granted, I'm living in a different part of the state now than I used to, but when I was younger, I would get allergies in the fall. Like about silage chopping season is when they would get me. And I don't know what it was, what weed it would have been back then. Like, I don't know if it's ragweed or if it was
a lot of giant ragweed in that part of the state, right?
You know, so if it, if it was that, or I don't know when cockleburrs and all that kind of, I don't know what, or maybe there was a grass.
I was going to say the amaranths are kind of right in that area.
Yeah. You know,
boy, they can drop some pollen.
Yes.
Just touch them and poof.
Oh, so bad. And so then I moved out here actually while I was still young. And so,
you're still young.
Thank you. That's very kind. Remind me to tell you
not a kid.
A story about that.
Yeah, right.
But anyway, so moved out here and my allergy shifted to spring.
Okay.
And so then whatever, it was maybe a grass or a tree or I don't know.
Probably broom. Well, you'd have a lot
but we had that back home. Yeah.
That's what I'm thinking. Brome, when that goes in the spring, that's a tough time.
Yeah. And
trees.
I assume it was a tree maybe, but I don't know. Anyway, had it. But I'll be honest with you, the older I get, the less and less that becomes a problem.
Interesting.
And at the risk of inviting plague on myself, like honestly, probably the last 5 or 8 years, it has been just a very mild inconvenience for like maybe a few days. And then, I mean, like, it's actually really been not too bad. So
I wonder if it's a drier air too. It just clears out quicker in the morning. I wonder if the kind of humidity. I know humidity kind of holds that pollen. There'll be times in July you walk out and it's dewy. And
you can smell it.
Pollen, like you just
taste it.
Taste it exactly. Yeah. I think there's something to that. And I do feel for the people who get allergies later in life. I mean, not real bad because I had them my whole life, but I've had them my whole life. I know no different. I can understand.
This has never been a problem before.
Everybody's like, "Oh, this is awful," and I'm like, "I guess it's just normal life."
Yeah,
I can understand how getting that later would be super frustrating and irritating, but
see, and
you just don't know what you don't know.
I know, and that has been one of my other thoughts was maybe my allergies aren't getting better. Maybe I'm just getting used to not feeling great.
Yeah, right. Right.
Because I do sort of wonder that if you took the way I feel today and you dropped it on 22-year-old me, if I just curl up and die. Because I'm like, what is it? Like everything hurts. And I don't know. Yeah. It's not that bad, I guess.
Right. I get what you're saying, though.
Yeah. So we had a truck driver who brought a load of cake. And we had some totes and we had some bags of cubes. And I unloaded him over here at the warehouse, which is where the Farmer Tan podcast broadcasting studio is located. We're just
going to have huge live crowds now that you revealed that.
Well, they don't know the address.
Oh, okay.
We'll be all right for a little bit. Oh, no, here they come.
Here they come. Oh, they look angry.
Oh, they do look angry. We're both looking out the window like there's actually people here.
It's like college game day signs out there with Reese's logo.
Yeah. Oh, no. Breaks, summer
sausage. Ford signs.
Oh, man. Good times. But anyway, so he comes over here. I get him unloaded. We sign the paperwork. He gives me my copies. I go back to the actual store, which is a couple blocks away from this warehouse. And I'm over there doing a few things. Phone rings. New gal answers the phone. And she's talking on the phone like, oh, yeah, okay, no, yeah. And then she's laughing like on the phone. And she's like, okay, yep. And hangs up. And so I'm kind of looking at her like, what is so funny? And she's like, so the truck driver that was he needs to stop by the store. He gave you basically 2 copies of the same, which I did not catch. He's like, needs to trade you out a little paperwork. Oh, yeah, that's fine. And then she starts laughing and giggling again. And she's like, well, I'm laughing because he said that kid that unloaded him. And I'm like, why is that funny?
Why is that funny?
And then she's laughing. And so I'm looking at her and she's trying not to laugh, which makes her laugh harder. I'm like, why is this so funny to you? Yeah, he called you a kid. I'm like, okay, I heard you. First of all, it's very nice of him. Second of all, like, this is not how you get a raise, okay?
But this is kind of proof you're moving into middle age because, boy, didn't it bother you when you were 25 and married and maybe had a kid and somebody still called you a kid? You're like, well, when am I ever going to outgrow being a kid?
I'm a man.
That's right. Like, I think that bothered me more in high school than in my 20s. In my
Yeah.
20s, I just kind of laughed it off. I'm like, I get it.
Yeah.
You know, you've got grandkids older than me.
Right.
But now you're at the point you're like, it gotta be nice to be called a kid.
Yeah.
It's like, that shouldn't be shocking.
I know. And I think I moved into it a little bit as well. Well, I have taken up residency in middle age. I haven't just moved in.
That's right.
I've been here. But one of the, like, I referred to somebody else as a kid, and I'm like, well, but he's actually like, yeah, like you said, 25, 28, got a couple kids of his own. Like, he's younger than me, though. I can call him a kid, right? That's still probably fine. But yeah, that changed quickly.
My problem is, I think these people are my peers and my friends, and then I find out, one friend I'm thinking in particular was born in the year 2000. Like,
yeah.
What?
Yes.
You can't be married and a mom and be born in 2000.
Yeah.
We're the same age.
Right.
And then they start talking, and, we brought it up at Bible study a couple of times. I think it was 9/11. We had a Bible study on September 11th. So we're kind of just discussing where we were at. And boy, that was a little revealing.
Yeah, because
one of the guys said he was in preschool.
Yeah.
Wow, this gal's husband actually said he was in preschool.
Yeah. Yeah. Because I was a senior in high school.
We're the same age
when that happened.
I was a 5th grader. Yeah.
And yeah, I was a senior. This I about said kid. This guy, was like a preschooler, and I'm thinking, boy,
that's tough.
I'm getting dangerously close to the. Well, okay, so as an example, my boys are getting older. Aaron and I have always lovingly and affectionately referred to him as little boys. And so, like, hey, will you grab little boys tonight on the way home? Hey, little boys are walking to grandma's after school, whatever. But the one little boy is 12. We almost can't call them little boys anymore.
Yeah.
And now they're getting mouthy.
Oh, man.
And
both of those are tough on mom.
Yeah. And the one, he thinks he's funny. And so now, which he kind of is.
I know. Isn't that hard?
It is. Yeah.
Our 5-year-old is getting too witty for a 5-year-old.
Yes, that's my oldest is a little bit. Well, they're both getting that way. The one is blunt, but he's figured out timing.
Oh yeah.
And so his brother would say something and get a laugh. And so then he would say the same thing just louder, like we were going to laugh more. And I'm like, that's not how comedy works.
Yeah.
But now he's figured out timing.
Oh, yeah.
And so that now he is funny himself.
Yeah. Oh,
the other one is awfully witty.
Yeah.
But both of them, so I will, when I was your guys' age, which how else are you supposed to, like when I was a kid, right? Like you're trying to explain to them, and I'm not lecturing them. Like they asked me a question once, like, well, yeah, when I was your age, and they'll both go, old. Really? That's how this is going to go? Like, how am I supposed to relay to you?
Oh, man. Yeah.
Fine. I'm old.
Yeah.
But the one,
that's funny.
So we have we have a van, and I'm finally at that point in life. You know what? I drive a minivan.
Right.
All right. Come at me, bro.
Yeah.
If that's how you want to be.
Yeah.
No, I don't
have to impress.
I don't like it either. But it gets good mileage.
Yeah. It's just the usual fallbacks.
Yeah, and it makes life easier on mom and all that other stuff. Our boys, and you have probably noticed this, they are wonderful boys, but they are not the tidiest among us, and
as boys are,
and especially ours. And so the minivan is a collection of stuff that you may or may not ever need that's still living in there.
Try not to look in the back too much, huh?
I don't know what got left in there one day, but it was something with an expiration date. And it may have been football clothes, or it may have been a food item, or the one he just, like, the one day we had to bring home like a box of fish that he had caught, which makes everything smell.
Oh yeah,
well, like a box of fish.
Anyway, I don't know
what it was. That's like the little tree air freshener. It's like a fish with X's in its eyes.
It's just hanging down.
Ugh.
Like, what's that smell? It's my box of fish air freshener. It's covering up the dead possum that's in the back.
Oh man. Or you go over to somebody's house and like, oh Molly, I like your candle. What is that? And she's like, oh, it's a box of fish. Like, oh, I thought so. Yeah. I thought so. Oh, that is miserable. Oh man. Yeah, fresh cut hay. I don't know. You had said one time you guys don't dry corn, but if you've ever been around like an on-farm grain dryer that's drying corn, I love that smell.
I don't think I've experienced that.
If you're feeling a little racy, maybe race gas or diesel. Right, yeah. Right. Freshly turned earth, out plowing type of thing.
Like cold starting a tractor in the shop and it just stays in there.
Yeah. So I mean,
might be some health concerns associated with that, but
just a few carcinogens, but you'll be all right. You'll be all right. Won't be able to sell it in California. You'll have to have electric candles.
That's right. That's the thing, younger generation might not get to experience that as much.
Yeah.
The DPFs and everything.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Right. Kind of that leftover, like it's got a hint of ether flavor from when you were, because, it's a John Deere 404. Yeah. And it won't start even when it's 70.
Needs a little snort.
But anyway, so we have all these great ideas for candles and air fresheners and wax melts and, fresh linen and all that kind of stuff. Box o' fish. Yeah. Yeah. Okay. Anyway, this has went completely off the rails. But so we get in the van to go somewhere, right? It has got this, it was bad.
Yeah.
It smelled bad. Mm-hmm. And so I'm taking the boys to the bus and we get in and I'm backing out of the garage and I'm like, oh, like it smells like something died in here. And the one boy goes, perhaps your hopes and dreams?
Whew.
Now listen here, boy.
I cut a little deep first thing in the morning.
I used to have cool stuff before you two.
Before you do.
You are the reason I don't have cool stuff, so calm down, all right?
That's good stuff.
Yeah, I don't know. So, did you have a BSB you were wanting to?
I did earlier in the week, and I cannot remember. For the life of me. No, I don't. I've been sitting here thinking, but I think a lot of them are too obvious. I'm trying to think of something that's actually hard to decide, but anything I can think of, I feel like there's just one clear answer.
Well, yes. And so I was trying, along that line, I was trying to put one together myself. And the one clear one that I have, and I don't know, but like, all right, the low fuel light.
No, yeah.
I'm going to burn low fuel light to the ground.
Oh, yeah.
And here's why, right?
Okay.
Well, that whole system in general. Okay. So.
Yeah, wait to hear this.
So the van, well, they all, I think all of our vehicles have it now. That's funny. There's an entire generation that's not going to know that was ever not a thing.
Right.
You mean there wasn't a light that came on? Like,
or the fact that fuel gauges sometimes quit working.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And okay, I am one of those people. I saw a picture one day that said there's two types of people, and it showed a fuel gauge firmly in the red. Oh. And it said, we need to stop immediately and get gas. Mm-hmm. And then the other person's like, oh, we're good for 40 miles.
Oh, no.
I'm 40-mile guy.
No, I can't do it.
There was a picture of somebody with the fuel light on, and the caption was, this little light of mine, I'm going to let it shine. So I just want to get all the fuel out of there, right? What if I get in a wreck with a full tank? Look how much fuel I wasted. No. That's all.
Solid logic there.
all money wasted. I'm running as empty as I can all the time. That's fine. Flame me for being hard on fuel pumps and whatever all else you want.
Can't live that life.
But anyway, so I fill up in the van. Thing is topped off full, driving down the road, flipping through screens on the dash, and it's got the distance to empty. I know I just filled up. I don't need to know that it's 5,000 miles to empty, right? I've got that figured out. When I need it is like bing, fuel light comes on. I'm like, ooh.
How much time do I got?
Is that 20, 30, 45? Like how far do I? So I cycle through that and I get to the distance to empty screen and it just says low fuel.
Oh.
I know that. What I need to know is this like, do I need to pull off at Cozad or can I make it to Lex?
You need to find the nearest gas station
we got
right away. I'm the guy who gets below half tank. I'm watching it as much as a speedometer. Like the quarter level tank is the low fuel line. Like, yeah, this quarter tank, like, we need to reroute to a gas station. I mean, what are we doing here?
So, and I don't have some of them figured out as well but Aaron's flatbed Chevy, that pickup I know for sure, when that low fuel light comes on, there's 30 to 35 miles easy still in it. Actually, my old 98 Chevy doesn't have a fuel light. When you go around a sharp right-hand turn and it sputters, that's when you need to get to the gas station.
Oh my goodness.
You don't have much time left. I was actually on my way. So somebody in the neighborhood, this had been quite a number of years ago, had passed away. Somebody that we all knew. And so we were, going to the funeral. And I think my wife had to be there ahead of time. Maybe she might've been helping with lunch, or whatever. And so I was meeting her there. And so I'm whipping down Banner Road, got all my good clothes on, headed to this thing and make a sharp right-hand corner and I'm like, uh-oh. Which I knew I was low, but
oh my goodness.
I had kind of not realized that until I'd already come outside and all my good clothes. And like I had allotted just enough time to get there about 5 minutes before service started, So I'm like, well, come on, baby.
If you hear wind, it's me shaking my head. It's just coming through the microphone.
Oh, man. And so I did what everybody does, which is drive even faster so you get there sooner.
Oh, my goodness.
Well, I didn't have time to back it down. Like, we use less fuel if you drive slower. Like, well, I don't got that kind of time. So I did roll the windows up and shut the AC.
Yeah, that's better.
Shut the AC off. That way we could get better. And I tried, took a lesson from NASCAR, right? Acted like there was an egg under the accelerator. Like just kind of kept rolling all the time. Got to the church, no problem. Got through the funeral service, ate the lunch. Everything was good. Visited, all that kind of stuff. It was all good. Told Aaron we're getting ready to leave then. And I said, hey, maybe just follow me down to the convenience store in case I don't make it. And she's like, oh, pretty close. I'm like, well, it stumbled on the way to town. She's like, oh, really? Where? And I told her a particular neighbor's house that lives on this quarter. And she's like, you've drove that far? I'm like, oh, yeah. And I'm going to try to drive to the gas station. And you know what? I made it.
Man.
I mean, barely. Like, it was chugging. Like, I pulled into the gas station, and had that pump had somebody in it, I don't think I had enough to get around to a different pump.
Sheesh.
See? You don't want some of it in there going stale. You got to use it.
It's because you're at church, you can't substitute gas with the Holy Spirit. You can fill yourself up with the Holy Spirit, but you cannot fill your pickup up with the Holy Spirit. Like, well, come on, man. Be late and have gas. I kind of get into this with my wife a little bit. Like, I get in the car in a quarter tank, and I'm like, why don't you fill up? She's like, well, it's cold outside. And I'm like, well, yeah, but it's not going to fill up as it warms up, So I was like, what if we need to go to the emergency room? She's like, quarter tank would get us there. I'm like, well, what if it's below a quarter tank and, we kind of get to the emergency room? She's like, well, is my pickup still around? Quit bringing good facts to this argument about, I'm like, someday we're going to have to go somewhere really fast, probably in a week. And you know where the car is going to be?
Out of gas.
And you're going to have to bounce around in the 90s diesel on your way to the hospital. And I still don't think that'd change, but I know. Yeah, I don't get it. My brother's kind of the same way, and his low fuel light came on, and he applied the NASCAR situation, and is like, "What if I drift behind this semi truck here? Close enough, he'll take my win."
Yeah.
So he tailgated a semi on the interstate the last few miles to Gothenburg,
and he made it, didn't he?
Probably.
Yeah.
I mean, I'm sure he did, but
yeah.
If Jake's sitting alongside the road, just let him be. He needs to learn a lesson.
That doesn't seem like good. All right, fine. But, but I'm going to say Molly's logic, like it was cold outside. Well, so the fuel is denser.
I was like, it's January. It's going to be cold.
Yeah, but what I'm saying is the fuel is actually denser.
A quarter tank's not going to last us to May.
Yeah, but it'll get you to the emergency room. You should be fine. Okay, so I'll tell on myself a little bit here. And it was not my fault. I mean, it kind of was. So I made a big run in the semi, and I actually made 2 back to back, and it was actually running back east. And I had filled clear full made the first run, and I was actually like, maybe I should put fuel in. But you know how semi is. Like, I had like 3
to be full.
Well, but I mean, when you're toting that much fuel around, like half or 3/4 of a tank is still a lot of fuel, right? So it is my fault from the standpoint of I knew how far I had been, but I looked at the gauge and I'm like, 3/4. Like, well, that actually could be right. Cause I mean, I filled them to the tippy top. Like I filled the neck of the tank even.
Yeah.
Like they were full the day before. And I went, we're probably okay. And so anyway, ran back, got fuel. Fuel gauge is dropping like you would expect. Or didn't get fuel, ran up to get the load. I mean, did not get fuel. Ran to get the load, coming home with it. Fuel gauge is dropping. No big deal. Fuel gauge is on half. And I mean, I'm zipping down the interstate probably hour-ish, hour and a half-ish east of here, headed this way. All of a sudden, truck stumbles. I'm like, what's going on? Like, look at the fuel gauge, half tank. I'm like, maybe I'm just imagining things. Stumbles again. I'm like, nope. Now, luckily, I was approaching an off-ramp. And so, I mean, I hit that off-ramp, and by the time and I was still almost at speed, but by the time I was on the off-ramp, dead stick. I mean, I was coasting. It was dead. I'm like, wow, this is not great. So luckily, it was a paved shoulder off-ramp.
Yeah.
And there was a lot of room. So I got wheeled clear over out of the way and like, well, let's see what the problem is, So got out and I'm like looking around. I don't see anything obvious. And I'm like, surely we are not out of fuel. Like, are we? And so I opened the tank and like looking like, hello. I mean, it was so empty.
So empty.
And I'm like, that is weird. Now, I will say I had not been in any kind of rough terrain, but back in the day, we had crossover lines on one of our semis that had valves at the bottom.
Yeah.
And once in a while, a cornstalk would grab a crossover line valve and shut it off. Mm-hmm. And so it was returning to one side, but then it wasn't letting it equalize and it was pulling out. And I thought, well, maybe something dumb like that happened, right? So I went over half expecting the other tank to be bubbling full, opened it. Nope, it's empty. I'm like, you have got to be kidding me. So I climbed back up in the cab, turned the key back on. No. Fuel gauge says it's half. It was not. Mm-hmm. So now you kind of have that like, how are we going to remedy this situation?
Just I would have fueled up.
So I start going through my phone looking for local cooperatives. Find one. Call them. You guys have bulk fuel? Yeah. Can I talk to the bulk fuel guy? Okay. Let me put you through. Guy answers. I'm like, here's the deal. Here's where I am.
I live life on the edge.
I'm not from around here. I am slap out of fuel. Is there any way your tank wagon driver would bring fuel? And the guy's like, are you on the interstate? And I'm like, no, I am on the off ramp, but really close to the stop sign. He's like, let me ask him. Comes back on. He says, yeah, he said he'd bring it to you. Because they were only like maybe 20 miles away from where I was. Mm-hmm. I'm like, I will pay with a credit card over the phone. I have checks with me. You can send me a bill. Like, I don't care how you have to do it. Like, I need fuel and you are going to be cheaper than calling, whatever, the emergency Loves guy or, whatever, right? So anyway, so they show up. Guy was kind of laughing about it. Drags the hoses out. He's like, how much fuel you want? I'm like, fill it up.
Like, you're here, ain't you?
I called you to be here. And he's like, well, I think I ended up just writing him a check there, I think, or maybe they just sent me the invoice with the good Midwest understanding that I was going to pay directly. I don't remember. But anyway, he filled it up. He's like, all right, there you go. And luckily, unluckily, I had some troubles with this truck, like plugging fuel filters for a while. Like, I don't know if I had algae in the tank or, whatever. I probably got it all sucked out there from running it low. But, so in the toolbox on the trailer, I always carried fuel filters and Howe's fuel treatment. Like a couple jugs of it. I just spun all the filters off. I had new filters. I filled them clear full of Howe's, spun them back on, hopped in, hit the button, boom, it come to life. And I'm like, boy. Got home, no problem. For probably a month, I did not trust that fuel gauge.
Yeah.
But you know what? Like, I don't know if the float got tangled up in something or it has worked fine ever since.
See, I was already apprehensive when I haul feed for you and I ask you, I'm like, truck's about half tank of fuel. You think I'll make it Tedford and back?
Oh,
You're
yeah,
like,
yeah.
Oh, yeah, no problem. And I'm like, I know, Jake. I mean, like, can you just let me fuel it up?
You can.
Is this like, I'm going to, oh, yeah, you'll come back to Gothenburg, a low fuel light, probably turn on just a mile north of town. It'll be no problem.
Yeah, you should be fine.
You should be fine.
Dude, you're still going to have 50 gallons of fuel in there. You could run into Kansas yet.
So, just read between the lines for next time. If I ask you if it's going to make it, can you just say, go ahead and fuel up so you don't take a year off your life? I'm more asking for permission to fuel up than I am, will I actually make it?
We have a charge account at the local Ampride. Like, you are more than welcome to go put fuel in if it's making you nervous.
After hearing this story, I don't even think I'm going to ask.
I pulled in here the other day. Fuel gauge said it was about 1/8 of a tank. And no problem.
That's empty.
No.
Yeah.
No.
Yeah.
No, it was fine.
We take a road trip. I'm driving.
Yeah.
I can't handle that stress. I'm just going to suddenly get quiet in the passenger seat.
Like, what's
You're
wrong?
going to see me staring at the fuel gauge.
We've went 100 miles and not put any fuel in.
Just got to be that backseat driver. Like, oh, looks like there's a gas station at this exit.
Like, oh, I need a potty break.
Yeah.
Like,
need some coffee.
yeah.
Need a fast break.
need some summer sausage.
Need some Reese's sticks. Nutter butter, possibly.
Yuck! I still will not concede. Those are terrible. Those are terrible. All right. Well, I don't know. I think we've kind of about come full circle, probably. Or is there anything else you're wanting to hit on today yet?
I don't think so.
Oh, there was one thing I was going to mention quick. We are.
I do think I have some. Yeah.
Yeah. Well, we got plenty of time. It's our show. We can do what we want. And I kind of need to get going at some point, but you probably need to get going before I do.
Yeah, probably should be gone, but now.
Yeah, I've noticed you were looking at the clock for a while. So, but we are taking off. Here's pretty shortly. Yeah. We're taking off, headed to Red Oak, Iowa.
Red Oak.
Yep, it's about 45 minutes from Omaha.
Be disappointing. There's no trees there, huh?
It would be, or it's all like black walnut. Like, really? But for the national hand corn husking competition, my wife and one of my boys have qualified for nationals. It is a thing. So there's state hand corn husking, and if you do well enough there, you qualify for nationals. Actually, it used to be a big thing back in the like turn of the century time. But I mean, if you grew corn, the only way to pick corn was by hand, and then as everything does, it turns into a competition because you can clearly outpick your neighbor or your buddy or your brother.
Right.
But I mean, at one time, like for nationals, like they had like 50 to 70,000 spectators.
Wow. Like
show up to watch this thing. I mean, it was like they were talking about it like it was Major League Baseball. Good. Obviously, it's not as popular now.
Yeah.
For whatever reason. But anyway, so we're going in. What would they even be? Cyclone country or Hawkeye country?
I don't know where Red Oak is. I have no idea.
It's just on the other side of the border. So into Iowa
territory.
Yeah, I'm not sure. At any way,
get along better with Cyclone people than Hawkeye people.
Yeah, well, just so you know, and this is fair warning to all you folks in Iowa, like we're fixing to put it on you.
No,
all right. Yeah. It doesn't matter if you're Hawkeyes or Cyclones. We are the corn huskers.
That's right.
So we're going to show up and
kind of what we do.
Yeah. It's kind of our thing.
Yeah.
So we're going to show up and put it on you. So just be forewarned that
it's not the national Hawkeyeing competition.
No, or the national cycloning competition.
What is that? You spin around until you're dizzy, and the last one to fall down would win.
I think
is that a cycloning competition.
I would assume so. And even at that, Nebraska would out cyclone Iowa anyway.
Yeah, man, that's all. I did that a lot as a kid. I'm well prepared.
Yeah, we would cyclone them to pieces. So anyway, so just be warned about that. But hopefully have a report next podcast on how that went, but fun little family trip. Yep. So, and you said you had something else quick?
I'll save it for another time.
Okay. All right. Cause you
don't need to end on that.
Don't need to end on a rant. No. Okay. All right. Well, Jared's getting nervous about what time it is. And so we probably better button this thing up. But anyway, as always, you can participate in the show by emailing thefarmertanpodcast@gmail.com. Certainly you can follow us on Facebook, YouTube, and all the other major podcasting platforms, and you can comment on any of those sites. And we're always looking for BSB ideas, buy, sell, burn it to the ground. So if you come up with any of those, feel free to email that to us. In the meantime, we just ask that you'd all be safe out there. Take the time to help somebody if they need a little help. There's more to life than just what we can get done in a day.
Oh, absolutely.
And we appreciate you riding along with us. We'll pull up here to the end of the field and let you out.
Happy